I thought I was in labor, and it ended up being what's called, I believe it's prodromal, is that how you say it? Or prodromal, not sure. Labor. It was like I was going into labor, but I believe I ended up stopping my own labor out of fear. And I didn't realize it until that happened, and I thought, well, I'm ready, I can do this. And then I was like, what's stopping me? What's holding me back? Why am I not going to labor? What's wrong with me? And Lord had spoken to me and said that you're gonna have another son and another daughter. And I only had told my husband about it. And then after I had Tatum, and I told more people about it because I thought, okay, I'm not crazy. It wasn't some sort of just crazy, had a baby voices in my head. It really was from the Lord. And I knew that the next time we would have a baby, that it was going to be a girl. And unfortunately, after Tatum, we did have one more miscarriages. So I had 10 miscarriages. And I can tell you that without, I walked a long journey, but I'm so thankful. Like, the Lord has taught me so much on this road, and just to count your blessings, really count your blessings, and just lean into Him and what God has for you, and is never, ever on my timetable. That is something I've learned over time, is that things happen on His timetable and when He wants it for us. And maybe there's something we need to learn along the way and on our journey. And so I'm so thankful for my family, and I'm so thankful that I have been able to go on this road and just really truly count my 6 kids, and they're all a blessing to me, and all for different reasons, and they all bring so much joy to my heart. And that whole, as your family grows, your heart grows and your love grows. And it's such a weird concept because you think, oh, this is going to take up space, and how can you love someone more? And you just do. And think how much, if we love our kids that much, think how much God loves us. His heart doesn't grow smaller when there's somebody else introduced in the world. It grows bigger and bigger. And that's such a cool concept to fathom. Okay, so you're like, get to the point, Sarah, what happened? All right, so I finally was like, I need to see the chiropractor. I need to do all these crazy things, because also I was experiencing, I had low iron stores. So if you recall, I had mentioned that I needed to go get an iron infusion. So I did end up getting 1 iron infusion. Hey friends, so I am getting my iron infusion, and it's a little bit weird. Your arm kind of goes cold, and it's fine, but it's weird. So they're doing it's not the super fast method, which is like 20 minutes. This takes a little over an hour. So I'm doing good. Last time they tried to do a fast method, I got super nauseous, really hot, thought I was gonna puke everywhere. So this is going good. I feel good, I'm fine. But yeah, this is what it looks like to get an infusion. We're just hanging out at the hospital. This is what it's like with COVID. You gotta wear a mask. And yeah, so here I am, and hopefully the baby comes after this. Don't know, we'll see. And that happened right the day or 2 before I was due. So I was also nervous, like, it takes a couple weeks for that to like go into effect, and I did not want to like hemorrhage and die. And so really it came down to, the Lord had said, you're gonna have a son, you're gonna have a daughter. And I also knew I hemorrhage. So in my mind's eye, I thought I was going to die. And I had to come to grips with, I'm gonna die. This is the end. There is no beyond this. And I couldn't talk to my husband about it because he was also afraid that I might hemorrhage. And you're thinking, okay, well, this is insane. And on top of all this, I was having home birth. Why, Sarah? Why would you do this? Well, first off, my best experience was with my daughter, Lily. I had her at home, and it was amazing. It just went south because I hemorrhaged and I ended up in the ER. So I needed to figure out how to manage bleeding. And so the Lord we went to the hospital with my daughter Rhea, and then I had Tatum at a birth center, which is like hospital meets home birth. It's kind of a halfway medium. And so after those experiences, we figured out if I'm put on Pitocin after the delivery, then my body can clamp down the uterus and it's fine. Then I'm fine. So I prayed and prayed like, oh Lord, I would want nothing more than to be at home to have my baby. And so I prayed about it and asked the Lord to provide the perfect midwife that would be able to meet my needs. And I found this woman. Are you getting sad? Are you getting sad? I found this woman who she had worked in the hospital for like 25 years before deciding that it was time for her to do home births because there were some things in the hospital that she didn't agree with. And so she started doing home births. So we interviewed our midwife and we prayed about it and we decided, yes, this is what we want to do. She's a perfect fit to meet our needs where we were at. And the crazy part of this is God knew before this whole pandemic struck that it was going to happen. And he aligned before we knew that he aligned for us to have this home birth and not be in the hospital, which is amazing because I'll tell you, some of you guys, I've seen your stories and what's going on, and you guys are saints for all the things you've had to endure. So blessings to you who have, had a baby in this pandemic and had it at the hospital. And it's been such a journey. And to, wonder, will my husband be there? I mean, there's so many things that you could be afraid of. And I had these same thoughts because I thought, what if it goes like Lily's? Yes. Come here. Look at this hair, you guys. Oh, it's crazy. It's starting to thin out right here. We'll see if she keeps it. So I started to have these thoughts in my mind, like, oh, what if we end up in the hospital? What if my husband dies? What if I die? Just like all the crazy, I feel like Satan is out to kill, steal, and destroy. And he will kill, steal, and destroy anything he can and make you full of fear and full of worry all the time. Just worry. I got to that point where I had gone into this predermal labor and I was like, this baby has to come out. I was so uncomfortable, just really awkward, and had the low iron, had gotten the infusion. Do we have to take a break? Okay. We're gonna take a break. Okay, we had to take a small break there for a second. So I decided to go to my chiropractor and get an adjustment, and there's people go to the chiropractor and then they end up going into labor. So I'm like, okay, that's gonna help me go into labor. Then that happened, and then I really realized the next day when I didn't go into labor, and it was like, I'm trying all the things, you go down the list, the checklist of things. So my good friend had told me about her cranial sacral therapist, CST, and I call her the baby whisperer because she is known for putting mamas into labor within 24 hours of being seen and adjusted by her through cranial sacral massage. And so I had scheduled an emergency appointment with her on Tuesday, and this was Tuesday the 27th. And so during that time, I was also praying and asking, the Lord to help me go through this labor and delivery because I was afraid for what was coming and just also didn't know the outcome. And I think that's where a lot of fear stems from, is when we don't know. It's more fear of the unknown, like what is going to happen. And I had, God didn't give me a vision beyond having another son and a daughter. He didn't say anything beyond that. So I thought, well, does that mean I'm dead? And that was definitely Satan toying with me. And yet I also knew I had this bleeding disorder. And so all of these things were playing in my mind, and I just got so stricken with fear. So I remember calling my good friend and just laying it out there for her because I needed someone to talk to. You know, when you just need someone to talk to and tell them what's holding you back. And I just felt like I didn't want to scare my husband, because my poor husband, oh my gosh, he's the best. He really is. And I just didn't want to put that burden on him. I think he was already feeling that and already feeling those pressures. So for me to add to it, I just didn't want to do that. And I called my girlfriend and I told her. And I just love when God speaks through your friends and he knows, like, you need to hear this. And she just said, you need to speak it and say it over and over that you're surrendering this to the Lord. And so that's what I did. I just kept saying, I surrender, God, I surrender. And I made this labor, labor music that you listen to while you're in labor. A lot of the songs were from Shane and Shane, and they will sing scripture to you. And so I was listening to some of the Psalms, and I just got flooded with God's peace. And on Wednesday afternoon, I went into labor. And I was a little bit nervous, though. This time I was like, don't tell anyone, because if it's that prodromal labor again, I don't want anyone to think, oh, I'm going to have the baby. And I remember messaging my one friend saying, I think I'm in labor, say some prayers for me. And I told my sister at like 10 o'clock, I think it was 10 o'clock, that I think a baby's coming. And I just had no idea it was gonna take as long as it took, but I think it was me like muscling through my fears and some of the things that I had to give to God. I just had to give it to God. So once I got to that point, you're like, okay, we're in labor. This is really happening. We called my midwife and she came, and then it was mostly just perfect, like serenity. And my husband is so sweet. He loves to watch a Hallmark movie with me because I'm a little bit of a sucker for Hallmark movies. I'm a sap for a good happy ending. One thing I advise not to watch while you are in labor is we had watched The Masked Singer, and they sang A Woman's Work. And if you haven't heard that song, it is from the classic Kevin Bacon movie with she's having a baby. Okay, first off, don't watch that scene, because my husband was like, what is this? What is this song? And what is this movie? And so I played it for him, and I was like a puddle, because it's also kind of like a scary nightmare. She ends up having a C-section. It was like scary. So I'm like, okay, this is not good. I should not be watching this right now while I'm in labor. And also sobbing my eyes out. So a woman's work. You should check out that song. I forget who the artist is, but it's really good. We watched our sappy Hallmark movie, and we had called the midwife, and it was funny because I thought, this isn't so bad. This isn't so bad. Well, if you've had a baby, you know you go through transition. And transition usually isn't long. And so it's like, you just got to get through transition, and then usually you're pushing out a baby. So my midwife came, and I was kind of like, the contractions were getting stronger, but they just were still putzing around. And so she had asked to check me, which usually I also don't get checked, but she checked me because I felt like God said, let her check you. And she's like, okay, you're dilated to 4. And I could have just started bawling my eyes out, because I thought, 4? Oh my gosh, you have to be a 10 to push the baby out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not good. This is not good.